what I wanted to do is to capture some of the pictures that I've taken in the stream the other night, and to get the footage beforehand which talks you through my thought process and what I was aiming for with those pictures, and I hope you enjoy it.
Let's have a look up here. I mean, even though I've never done it, I'm pretty convinced most landscape photographers just go for a hike, see something beautiful. I mean, they will choose the time of day and the right lighting and that sort of thing, but yeah, they'll just go for a hike and look for things that inspire them or they find beautiful. And that's my plan for this evening. Although, I'm starting to think that may not be the best course of action. I'm still going to have a little experiment. And now, even though I won't use this frame, especially not with that, there we go. So this is a typical camera, which is, I can never remember the way around. I think it's a 3x4 because it's portrait instead of landscape. But you can use that to frame your pictures. And the reason I take this off is it's actually very difficult to crop the white frame out of it when you're in the when you're editing it. That's a cool little cinematic thing. But the advantage of taking the entire picture is that you can always take things out of a picture. Once you've taken it, you can't put things back in, so it gives you a bit of wiggle room. And then it is just a matter of remembering. So with me, what your original shot was, and with me, it's that rock at the top with the little mountain behind it. So that's the thing I need to remember, because that is what I'm going to be capturing. Now you do have a lot of features in here, so you've got your depth of focus and stuff like that. So you can set your aperture, which is down the bottom there, the focus, so where you want that aperture to sit. But being that I'm doing landscapes, then that's not particularly something I'd be interested in. I'm just having a look through, because quite often during the game I didn't really explore this. Now, lens distortion and chromatic aberrations. Now, these are generally things you use in real photography. And I'm not a real photographer. I do have a camera, but I'm not very good at it. But yeah, if you get some distortions in that, then that's where you'd use those functions for. But we are just going to take a flat picture, a standard picture. So I'm just going to hide this and then capture it using the PlayStation capture function. So for me, I think the sky is a little too bright. What I'm going to do, and this isn't a thing that you tend to have with landscape photography, but I am more interested in the mountains in the foreground than the white ones at the back. So what I'm doing, so the wider aperture means more detail in the picture. So if I bring it back, and I have it quite low, and that just makes it easier for me to spot where the actual sharpness is. Because when it's really blurred, or on full, let me get this right. Aperture is always an odd one to explain, but the wider the aperture is, so the wider the hole, the more focused it is. So the the object that you're looking at is. So now I have it really, really small. I mean, really, really wide. The things in the distance are slightly blurry. I'll bring this closer to me as more of an example. So this is really, really close. So everything is very blurred. But as I move my focus back, you'll start to see a very small part of it coming into focus. So it's predominantly a little clump of rocks with some grassy rocks. So not the ones in the foreground, but the ones nearer to the lake. You'll see that getting sharper. Now I'm moving this back. The front becomes more in focus. And the back sort of blends a little bit. And that's really where I was looking for. So I'm just bringing a tiny bit of detail to the rocks. So where, oops, how's that for professionalism? So where let's see if I can get my hands in the right position. At the foreground, you'll see it going down like that, but they don't quite meet. So in between that gap, you'll see some little cliff face, let's call it, but it's quite shiny. So that's in focus, but the rest of it isn't. So that is what I'm going to capture. And again, I may make this a portrait picture because I find that Instagram, you can't mix landscape and portrait pictures. It just, whichever is the first you chose, it dictates what all the rest will be. So I'm going to capture this shot. Now, these sort of conditions are perfect for mobile phone photography. Simply because you've got such stark contrasts. You've got really dark and great light. So things like this makes for good. It really takes the strengths of your mobile phone picture. Things like this. And raise it right up so you can use the shadows. Now what I tend to do is use pillars or sides of buildings, and I'm using that against, I don't know if I can successfully demonstrate, but using the side of the screen to set that up. Again, grid-wise, main interest is the very dirty but very interesting windows. I'm very tempted to put this pillar here as well. Let me move. Part of me wants to move this up a little higher, but I like how the bottom third is making you aware of the shadows and the light that's coming through that window. So again, just gonna grab that shot. I'm just looking to see if there's anything particularly interesting, like those sweeping hills there. And again, goodbye Sam. And I'm going to use the frame. It's not cinematic. So not so much brightness. Or do I want that foreground? Because it can be a very useful tool. Something like that. What other ones have we got? So I don't want square. Don't want square white. No, we don't want love heart. Don't want diamond. That's kind of cool. But that's if I wanted to make posters. So we are just going to go for plain, and I'll do the crop myself. Let's hide that. Now this is purely a photo of light. You've got the contrast of the darkness. Actually, let's see if I can set this up better, but I've got to do this very quickly just in case the light changes.
Hello?
Wrong button. So what I'm doing is a bit of an action shot. I'm going back as far as this will allow me, which is about there. It's a shame I can't get it how I want it, but I'm going to set this bottom line as shoulder height. Have him in the bottom right. And again, this is going to be a portrait shot. So even though I'm slightly off center, it should come out pretty well. This would make a good poster picture. I can't demonstrate because it's off center and it's in landscape, but that is my thinking. So let's get rid of this grid. Grab the grid. And that's a very interesting rock. How can I use that? No, it's not going to give me much movement. That's a shame. Zoom quite close in. Let's drop it down to get rid of that building. And that makes this a very clean picture. Drop it a little bit more. So that's way too much foreground. And I'll get rid of this to show you what I mean. There's a little bit of building, but you'll barely notice it. Now I did go that way in the game, so I'm actually going to go this way. See, that's beautiful. That really is beautiful. Let's capture that light before it goes. Especially with that tree as well. I don't even need to do anything with that. I'm just taking that picture. Now that's quite an interesting angle as well. Sorry, Sam. This is not about you, mate. So this will all be about the crop. So it's going to be the center of the image, but only really the top half and the rocks where they curve. They'll be in this. But because of its location, I really like the angle and how the picture forms. So I don't want to come out of this view, go higher and try and retake that. Because I'm really worried about losing what I already have. So I'm just going to remove this, take the picture. Now these actually have a very interesting effect when you try and take photos of them. You see they continuously move. And I have made a photo, or taken a photo of it in the past. But it's all based on how you move it, and I've never actually experimented it. I know we're coming to the end of the stream, so I should really be getting on with it, but I'm wondering if you can get something really spectacular out of it. I mean, I may be overly biased because I love the Brownian effect. Or Brownian. I can never say it right, but I think it's the Brownian effect. Or, like back in the late 80s, early 90s, they used to do graphic demos that you could program, and they'd have like waves of tiny little balls, and that was me. Happy as Larry. I could, after spending 4 or 5 hours programming it, I could watch it for a further 4 hours. I was happy as Larry. But this, not a landscape shop, fully accept that, but that's kind of cool.
I hope you've enjoyed it. I do intend to make more videos like this, and if you would like to see more, if you want to catch my stream, then all you need to do is just subscribe and you'll be kept up to date. So, thank you very much. Have a good day.